Now then, crew, and welcome back to the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Now, I've just finished the live stream, and we posted a video last week on pulling apart, doing an autopsy on a RYOBI strimmer, or weed eater, or weed whacker, whatever you want to call it. Thing that chops the weeds down, little two-stroke engine. The engine had basically seized up, and Jared, the owner, couldn't get it started again. So he said, hey Andy, pull it apart, see what happened. In that video, we went through basically nearly everything. And in the comments, there was a bit of a... There was two sides. One group thought, hey, it's a big end failure. We know that there's play in the big end. You can see it. Maybe you can hear it, actually. You hear that? There's a bit of play up and down on the big end, but also there appeared to be a ring failure as well. What came first? Was it shrapnel from the big end that then got up in the cylinder and caused the damage to the rings? Or, you know, did the big end fail just down to normal wear and tear? The machine was, I thought it was about 18 years old. It's actually about 15 years old. Even so, a hell of a lot of usage, and it's done well to last that long. But the question is, you know, you can see there, look, you can see the play on the big end. The question is, the needle roller bearing in here, is it intact or did it break up? If it broke up, then the fragments could well have been the primary fail of this particular engine. So what we need to do, it's a tiny little crankshaft, isn't it? We need to split the crank, basically pull the two webs apart, and then we can remove the conrod and we can inspect the needle roller bearing. I can see little bits of the needle roller bearing. If I just rotate that around, you can just see some of the needle rollers, but it's not conclusive. So we're going to split this in the press, if we can get it open, and just inspect it and find out, is this needle roller bearing intact or not? And then we know, don't we? So a short video, just following up on that autopsy. Here we go. It's used.
You don't paint something without wiping.
Honestly. Now, hopefully Brandon won't be too upset me using sockets for this job, but now with the crankshaft, it's important that we get it to sit nice and flat, and we've got a little ridge just here which is like a shoulder for the bearing to sit on, and it's about half a mil proud. So if I leave it as it is, the whole thing's going to kink across slightly and it could fly out of the press. So I'm just going to, because this is scrap, I'm just going to grind that flat with a grinder, and then we'll give it another go and see if we can get it lined up and make it sit nice and flat. So back in a second. Now, I know this is a flat disc, but I'm taking a tiny amount of material out and I can't bother to change the disc. That'll do. Right, let's see how we get on. Okay, ground bit to the bottom. There we go. Sits a lot better now, doesn't it? That one on there. Get it centralised to the pin. Here we go. Now obviously if we had to reuse this crankshaft, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to use a little shim or something to level things up. But because it's scrap, it was the easiest way of doing it. So feel free to reprimand me in the comments. But seriously, it's going to go in the bin when we're all done. Right, here we go. Now it's very important to have safety gear when you're doing this kind of thing, because the things could go flying around the workshop. Just want to make sure that we're correct on that pin. Looks like we are. Okay, here goes. There we are. Superb. It'll all just fall apart. That'll do. Right. Let's wind that back. love that sound. It's great, isn't it? Okay, back to the bench. Right, crankshaft is split, never to go back together again. So we can now remove the conrod. There we go, look. And the needle roller bearing. One of the needles fell out. That's, oh my word, we've got lots falling out. Okay, very, very carefully. Let's head over to the other bench. Right, the bits. Okay, one little baby conrod. Now, for the needle roller bearing, this is the critical bit we need to inspect. And 4 of the rollers have already dropped out. So there's 1. Tiny little things to pick up, actually. 2. 3, 4, only just. Okay, so just, oh, that one's magnetic. I used my screwdriver and it wasn't magnetic. Okay, so we've got those 4, and they all look pretty much intact. Now, the needle roller bearing itself, just looking at this, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 missing. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still in place. But looking at the cage, we're missing a little piece here, another little piece here, and quite a big chunk missing from here. So the rollers themselves, I'm just going to flick the rest of them out. There's another one. They all look pretty good. In fact, some of these won't even come out very well. We'll give it a go. Nope, he wants to stay in. He can't stay in because I want to inspect it. So he has to come out. This is where I tend to let the blood out of my fingers. Jeez. Let's try another one. Oh, that one fell out. There we go. Another one. How about that one? Yep, there we go. That's that one. Another one. Yeah, perfect. So it looks like, based on what we've found, oh, there we go, look, got him. All the needle roller bearings, the needle rollers, appear to be intact. They haven't broken up. But what has, surprisingly, what has broken up is the actual cage. You can see here, look. This is, see if we get some more light on the matter. There we are. You can see here, this part of the cage is completely intact. We've got the sides and the little drop down here. But if we rotate it round, certain parts of this cage are just broken up and migrated around, well, basically got into the crankcase, and then through the induction, they've ended up in the cylinder. And we've just found our primary fail. Look at that. So, Mr. Rawle, Simon, you are absolutely correct. The primary fail of that weed whacker was the big end bearing. Wow, just goes to show, unless you pull something completely apart, things can easily be missed. We now have a conclusive reason as to why this strimmer, this little 2-stroke engine, actually failed. And there's actually no real scoring on the inside of the big end. Hang on. There is. You hear that? Look. It's actually quite ridged. Going across there. Pretty smooth this side. Smooth, smooth, smooth. But that side there has already started to break away. And if we got the verniers and we measure this, we might actually find that it's gone oval. There's more wear across here than there is in this plane. We should do that. Bear with me. Okay, so just going across. Are we zeroed? We are zeroed. Just going across. Turn it around for the camera. We've got 13.99. Now if I rotate that around by 90 degrees, we've got 13.98. So there is a very slight discrepancy. Hang on, bear with me, bear with me. It's not easy upside down. Oh no, they are 13.97. Going again this side, 13.99. So it is slightly oval as well. There is obviously more wear on one part of it. Wow. Now, in the previous video, I reprimanded RYOBI for poor casting. However, it does look like this is a deliberate act on their part to aid the lubrication of that big end bearing. There's little nicks taken out that haven't, there's little gaps which obviously haven't been machined. They are quite rudimentary. That's still the casting mark there, but they have left deliberately little gaps because they are bang opposite each other. So I take that back, RYOBI. Your castings aren't that bad. There you go. You can see a bit clearer now. These two bits here and these two bits here, these are sort of cutaways. Although they haven't been cut, they just haven't been machined. Because the casting's lower down at this point. That's to allow the fuel, which is carrying the lubricant on the two-stroke engine, to lubricate that big end bearing. Because big end bearing lubrication is absolutely critical. These things tend to get pretty hot and they work very hard. Interesting stuff, really, isn't it? Sure is. I wonder if there's any wear on that pin. I'm going to pull that pin out next and have a look at that. I'm back. Look at this. We've got heaps of wear on there. I'm going to try and give it the same place so I can focus properly on it for you. So there's lots of wear on this side of the pin where basically it's on the power stroke and the conrod is being pushed down on the pin to drive the crank, It's definitely broken through the case hardening. It's actually quite a good step on that. We can measure that. So going across the pin, this is the bit that goes in the web. We're looking at basically 9.97 millimeters. If we go across the point where there's the most wear, oops, what does Eric say? Don't be a brain surgeon. We're down to, wow, look at that, 9.8. So 0.2 of a millimeter wear on that pin. So hence why there was so much play there. So without a doubt, a big end bearing failure. Interesting stuff. I'm finding it hard to film this morning. Roger Heaps from Invercargill has just sent me a photo. He's busy cooking bacon. I like bacon. Morning, Roger. Now, I'm very, very pleased that we've done this last step, which I should have done in the first video, but I didn't. Don't know why. Maybe I wasn't thinking clearly or just overlooked the fact. It actually looked okay. It just looked warm. But the fact that the cage had actually broken up, you can see the missing pieces there, look. Those pieces have dropped down to the crankcase and then been whooshed up into the cylinder with the fuel and air mixture and the oil into the combustion chamber, and of course they've then got wedged down the side of the piston and basically got trapped and caused the scoring down the side of the piston, damaged the piston rings, caused that number 2 ring to maybe rotate slightly on the pin on its locating dowel, and then really the demise has happened very, very quickly. The piston then seized or semi-seized in the bore, and that's why the pull start wouldn't work. So yes, here we go. This is the conclusion, and it really highlights why it's so important to completely disassemble and inspect absolutely everything. You have to find that primary fail. If you don't, you might miss it, and then you could fix the engine up, put a new, on this case, put a new, well, obviously it would have got a new big end anyway because there was a bit of play in it. But in some circumstance, you can miss the primary fail, you can do repair work to an engine, put it all back together, go to run it, and very, very quickly it fails again, which obviously isn't, it's going to cost you more money to fix it the second time round. So do it once, do it right, clean everything, visually inspect everything, measure stuff if you've got specifications to adhere to, and really get a true picture of why the engine failed and a full parts list of what you need to replace. Otherwise, you're only doing half a job and it's probably going to bite you. Anyway, crew, this was a short video. I promised you a short video. I'm going to keep it short. If you enjoyed it and you're not already subscribed to the channel, why not subscribe and then ring the bell? And that way you won't miss any notifications, any new videos coming up on the channel. You'll be able to watch those as well, because they're great fun, in my opinion. But of course, I'm biased. Now, you'll also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Feel free to communicate through those portals. And you can also email me directly, and my email address is down in the description. If you want to support the channel, many do, you can do that through Patreon or PayPal. Again, there's information in the description on how to do that. Okay, crew, well, until next time, see you around. Cheers, over and out.
And we get the flip up again.
Oh!